The grant program was put together from the councillors to help us all recover, as I mentioned. Now, the money, the $1 million bucket, is split between business support and community support. It doesn't mean it's split funding-wise, it's just that we're looking at two different streams for the finances. The council can lead projects within, or the community and business sectors can lead their own projects. There's no specific amount, as I mentioned, and each grant is a competitive grant and it will be assessed on the application merit, not the actual idea. It will be assessed on the application. Council seeking to understand, anyone that's just joined, please pop yourself on mute. Thanks. Council seeks to understand key issues and opportunities as a result of this pandemic. You're all on this session today because you've got a great idea, and how you want to do must be directed at the broader community. As they say, we're all in this together. We've heard that many a time, but we really do want to improve our Shire to get through this and to get on the other side better and new and more improved. It will be not be enough to tell the panel that the pandemic has meant a loss of funds. This is quite universal. Why has your project come about, and why is it considered the best way forward? These funds are not opportunity fundraising. Many of the community groups have got many unfunded programs. Please don't just jump on this and think that this is an idea to attract funds to complete something that hasn't got funding in previous years. If you have an idea, an initiative or a program as a result of the pandemic, this is what we're looking for. Take a minute to think about your idea. How will it help us to genuinely recover? Many of you are accomplished grant writers and have written many grants. We know many of you, and some of you are stepping into this space for the first time. Grant writing is an interesting beast, and once you get the hang of it, all funders pretty much are asking for similar things. All funders want to know about evidence. How did the idea come about, and why do you think it's the best way to solve the issue? Why is it the best way to create an opportunity? Where's the evidence to support this? We need you to provide factual and concise information, like use statistics, use previous surveys. Are there any reports, testimonials? Has there been a previous successful program that you can look at? Please take this time to really think about evidence-based programs. Be clear about the why this project is important. We've had over 150 conversations to date, Terry and I. Now, this is not to put you off. Many of these have been ineligible, and that's why we've asked people to speak to us so that you don't go through the pains of filling in an application to find out you are ineligible. However, you must clearly articulate the why. Why are you asking for funding? It will be not sufficient to tell us that the opportunity is to support community or to support businesses. You'll need to have evidence, and the best way are letters of support. We'll have more of that later. Council doesn't do anything ad hoc. There's many strategies and plans for everything so that we respond to the needs of our community. Whilst to many, council is a mystic beast and they love to complain about what we do and how we do it, but we do it to help people from birth to the grave and all the individuals in between, from infrastructure to health. And if your project was born out of the pandemic and it aligns with one of our strategies or a state government strategy, this will help you move in the right direction. It gives government and council confidence that your project is important. Now, Terry and I are here to assist. We're not expecting you to know every strategy that's out there. Google is a great friend in this space, and so are we. So get on the blower, give us a call, ask about these, how your project fits in, and we will be more than happy to assist. We want your project to be successful. What do you aim to do? This is a big thing around the funders. Why are you doing it and what do you aim to do? Are you wanting to improve something? Are you wanting to develop something? Educate? Maybe you want to identify something out in the community. Be specific about what you're wanting to do. Don't put your money, don't say that it's just for your organisation. We want to know what you're doing for the money. Some people do, when we ask what, they tell us about their organisation or they tell us about their business. No, what do you want the money for? What method will you be using? Will you be doing an online presentation or an education platform? You're going to be emailing hundreds of people. Perhaps you're wanting to make a movie, run a campaign. What are you aiming to achieve with the money? Is it 1,000, 5,000, 10,000? It's the money you're asking me for, or Terry Council for, to do the what. And how will you evaluate this? If we were to give you $10,000, we would ask for a fair amount of evaluation so that we know your project will be a success. How can you tell us that the money will be well spent and you achieved what you set out to achieve? I'll go into this in more detail further in the presentation, but you'll notice I've mentioned money several times. The $1 million is taxpayer funds. Now, this program will be assessed on its merit and officers will need to stand up and say the program was a success. And we want you to achieve what you set out to do. So evaluation is really important. When you get to open up the application, the first thing we ask you to do is provide us with a short summary of your project or initiative. This is your moment to shine. This is a 50-word elevator pitch. Once again, not about your company, not about your organisation. What is the project and what is the outcome of it? I am wanting to run a video, or one that has been successful. I can announce that is a young movie or film producer, a local girl, who is going to do a film about how COVID has affected the young teenage generation and younger. And she's going to compare that to how other people are in the Indigenous community are coping. And that will be then uploaded for many people to see. So that's a great initiative. So in her 50-word pitch, she's doing a movie, comparative movie. Then we ask why, and this is what why the pandemic has brought you to write this application. That is your why. You have this is a 200-word field, and you can add in here your data, your evidence, the people you're reaching. This is an opportunity to show that you've done your research and that it's a great idea, and you can bring your passion to the application. Why? If you stepped up in front of 1,000 people and said why I should give you the money instead of the other 1,000 people, this is your moment. Use stories, information from traders, government reports, census, stuff, information from your sector. Tell us your story. And try to think that the person reading this does not know your organisation or your township. Don't assume that we know who you are. You don't know who's on the panel. We have an assessment panel and they can only assess what you've put in the application. A good application should explain why the project is important, be innovative to the community or your organisation, and it should have plausible goals and be supported with relevant research and documentation. Okay, let's go to what this looks like. Sorry if the bottom table's a little bit blurry. I cut and pasted it straight from the application so that you can understand what we'll be referring to. Why are you doing this? What is the outcome? We're asking specifics here, yes, and I know I've heard this many times. I felt like I was repeating myself throughout the application. There's a reason for this, that funders put tables in. We need the data at the end of the program. We want to know what you've thought about, who, what, why, when, and how you're going to do your project or initiative. The outcome is the end product. Why are you doing it? You are doing this because your project was a success, because you set out to upskill, say, 20 people in social media. You set up the program to generate increase in their sales. You set up for vulnerable people who could then remain in business. They're your outcomes. Perhaps your outcome was 100 families will receive food that would otherwise have missed out. You forged new relationships through a targeted volunteer program. You've connected 20 plus families to other support programs due to flyers or deliveries. This is what your anticipated outcomes will be. What's the end product? We ask you about beneficiaries. Who are you helping? Think about it. Not just everyone, not just families, not just youth. If you say families, and you are benefiting families, have you thought about this, or are you just writing it? How are you really going to benefit a family? Think that through. Council's looking for partnerships. It's looking to forge new relationships to become a stronger community. There's no point for us to fund a range of activities doing similar things. Have you spoken to other bowls clubs in the Shires and share your ideas? And maybe this idea could be shared across all of the bowling clubs. What about getting together with your sector group and coming up and brainstorming? Please don't just grab the first idea. There's that word again, be innovative and think new. If you can, if it's something that you just know that would really work and it's tried and true, that's fine too. But if you can come up with some new partnerships on all of this, that's a win for everybody in our community. Now, this one is the how. So how are you going to set up your project? Step it through. Show us, the assessors, how you've thought about how you're going about it. You're going to engage consultants? Are you going out to the community? How do you set it up? How will you market this activity? Please don't leave it blank unless you're under $1,000. On the program, it says that to disregard it if it's a small program. $5,000 is not a small amount of money. And there's a lot of groups out there and a lot of business sectors that really need a leg up. So please show us that you've really thought through your project from start to finish and put in each milestone that you're going to do. As the saying goes, if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now you know why. You've thought about your why. You've thought about how you're going to do it. Now, what are your outputs? This is not your outcome. Outcome is the end of the program. These are your outputs throughout. So if you were to look at this to achieve, you're going to be asked how we would be assessing this. If you're wishing to engage 20 people in a program, maybe it's 10 the first month and 10 the second. Or will you identify Google Analytics each month or social media accounts? Is it going to be monthly sales figures? The numbers of volunteers that you recruit monthly? Maybe it's the number of people requesting help or meals delivered. These are the specifics that come into your, like the milestones, what you hope to achieve, and so that you can add the data to that. Once again, don't leave it blank. It'll mean to us that perhaps you've forgotten about it. Now, I appreciate already I've given you a lot to take in. Now that you've been thinking about your project in terms of the application, our grant, this COVID recovery grant, was designed to achieve certain outcomes. We've got our own outcomes, and these outcomes are what we term the eligibility criteria, just like a job application. I'll leave you to take a minute to read in the community stream. if I take the first one, builds and strengthens the community. How will your initiative create the social and gathering communities? How will you engage diverse backgrounds, positive new relationships? Now, these points are all on the application. They're all in the hints. Don't need to write them all down. Don't panic. Each of these criteria has a hint associated with it, and we're asking you to address these criteria. If you were going for a job and if you couldn't do half the things, you wouldn't get the job. So please think it through and address the selection criteria. Will your project forge positive new relationships? That's really what we're looking for amongst all of this. Please think about that question and answer it as best you can. I'll give you a minute to have a look at the business one. Council's looking for a broad industry support. Unfortunately, the need has just been too great to be able to assist individuals or individual businesses. But we do want to help our economy recover. If you've got a great business idea, does your local trade or association endorse your project? Have you got letters from other businesses to support this need? How will you demonstrate this idea isn't from a single business thinking you can help others, but you haven't really identified who or how? Please show that you've done your homework and give us confidence that if we support this project, that you have got the support of businesses around you. There's a great need to stimulate our economy. There's a thing called an expenditure here, or leakage. That means that any money spent outside our shire, or as Australia's acknowledging right now with a lot of our trade from China, and now that we're not trading as heavily with China, that has really impacted our industries. So for the businesses out there that might be listening to this project right now, we'd love you to think about new ways of pivoting things and creating new markets regionally, state or local. What steps has your project taken to be very inclusive? Now, this question is both streams, from community stream and business stream. We are a very diverse economy, at least diverse council, and we do like to support all of those, from low income, high income, the disability, young, aged, you name it. Think about broad spectrum in your application. Access and equity for all. You may not be able to, but if possible, we'd love to see that in the application. Wonderful budget. So when talking about budgets, I'd like to keep it really simple, because a budget really is just the money flowing in and the money flowing out. We've all got a household budget. Some run better than others, or a business budget. We know how we make money and we know how we spend money. On our grant application, you will see the two lines, income and expenditure. In the income line, you must add the income you're hoping to receive from us, and you put in there as unconfirmed. Income could be ticket sales. It could be some fundraising that you've already done and you have in your bank. It could be funds contributed from your organisation, or it could be funds from another grant that you've already received. That's all the income. And also, income can include things that you hope to make. Let's say you're going to sell something through your initiative. If you think that you hope to sell 20 of them at $10, then you would add your extra $2,000 onto this project. Then the expenses, you must outline everything that you think. It's the marketing you're going to do, the project management, materials you might have had to purchase. Maybe you need catering. I know we don't have it right now, but we are going to get through this. Maybe some equipment you need. What we need to know is how you arrived at these figures. Please include detailed quotes. lots of applications have come in without quotes. Guesstimates will not get you over the line. Like, to say that I need $5,000 to, you know, buy a piece of equipment, it could cost you $500. We don't know. Even if it's just a picture from Officeworks, a flyer to show us that you've identified a cost, or an email from a supplier to tell you how much they normally charge, gives us a surety that you have thought it through logically and you have a good case for the budget you've created. If you're looking to paying wages in your budget, this cannot be the major reason for the funding. This project is not designed to subsidise loss of income. So please don't just put it in and say the club's lost money or a business sector's lost money and now we want to pay 5 people to run their job. With in-kind, I'll go back one slide again, the in-kind. In-kind is any work you do that you are not paid for. A lot of people struggle to get their head around in-kind. Writing an application, a grant application, is in fact in-kind. You can't include it because that's before the application and we don't retro fund anything. But it's anything that you do in-kind, it can be determined by the hour. So if you're a volunteer, it's $30 per hour. If you're a professional that you're doing graphic design work or marketing, that can be totaled at $60 per hour. Oh, sorry, I'll just jump back. Now remember that these must balance. So if you said your income is $10,000, your expenses must add up to $10,000. What goes in, what goes out, that's the initiative, that's the budget, that's what you are asking money for to do this program, and that's the exact amount that you need, and you have thought about it and you've given us quotes for it, and if there's changes, that's fine, but you've given it a really red hot crack to come up with an overall budget. This is pretty much what we've seen to date. That's a bit of a cheat sheet. It's what's been missing in the applications. People have failed to really identify the need of what they're doing, what their initiative is. We've had far too many tell us about their organisation. Failed to put in letters of support, and that's probably a bit of our mistake in helping to inform the real need of why they're important, because they show us that you've gone out to your community and you have support of others. You need to show us that you've done your homework on the data, that your budget is equal, that you've attached quotes, and it aligns with strategies. You need to have answered all the questions and read the hints. Please read the hints. Now, Terry and I are here 100% for you. This is a fantastic initiative from our council. We are very, very fortunate. Many other councils across Victoria haven't got anything like this. Please don't think that if it's only $5,000 out of a big budget that you really don't have to say much. It's highly competitive. We want it to be an excellent program. So ring Terry and I as often as you need to, and we will support you through the application process. Now, I'll throw it open to Terry to help me with any questions that we've had come in. Terry?
Thanks, Gretch. That was fantastic. The first question that's come in is, what if a partnership is not required to achieve a great project? Is that a showstopper?
Nothing is a showstopper, but if you don't need a partnership, why don't you? Have you exhausted the opportunity for a partnership of some kind? I'd like you to have at least spoken to Terry and myself first to see that we can't establish one. If it doesn't need a partnership, is the partnership not with other community groups? Could you not, whatever your initiative might be, could you not then give it to other community groups to benefit from it at the end? Could they not then partner with you as a after the fact? So try to explore that a bit more. I do think we can create partners where none exist before, but if you can't, no, it is not a showstopper.
Another question, Gretchen, are the assessment criteria weighted?
No, they're not weighted because this program is so diverse between community and business. Each question is equally weighted. So that's why we ask you not to miss questions.
Yep. And going back to the initial question about partnerships, can the Shire be a partner? It's a good question.
Depends how, because loosely we're a partner with all of you and always will be. If you're saying that we're a partner, you'll need to clearly articulate what that partnership looks like.
And one more question there about individuals applying in auspices, wanting a bit more information there, Gretch.
Right. So an individual can't apply because there's no governance around you. Let's say worst case scenario, you're an individual and you've asked me for $1,000 and we thought that looked fantastic on paper. We gave you the money, we never heard from you again. So what does government do? Government says in order to have governance structure around us and probity, we ask you to go out to another organisation to hold the money for you and hold you accountable. So it just means that there's less chance of those sorts of things and fraudulent activity happening. If you don't know who could auspice, you can ask Terry or myself who might be able to assist. Now, one business can auspice for a greater group if they wanted to, so that one business has an ABN, but there's like 6 other businesses involved in the project delivery, so that those other businesses will help keep them accountable.
That's good. Another question, Gretchen, is there a time frame for applications and where is the application form?
The application form is on our website. If you popped in that little search, COVID recovery word will pop up and you click on that and it will take you to a landing page that has all the information, frequently asked questions. This program will be uploaded on there. It's a spot where then you can click and apply. There's a apply now button. The closing dates, there are none until the bucket's empty. However, the quick response grants, what comes in on a Monday is assessed through the week, and we're trying to turn them around on a weekly basis. So if you can get your application in on a Monday if you need it urgently. The larger projects do need to go to council for their ultimate approval. So it goes through a much longer assessment process. At the moment, we will be going into caretaker mode for the elections in October. Caretaker mode comes in September. So any of the larger projects over 5,000, I can't confirm when we'll be able to get back to you on that. So there's a conversation that needs to be had with Terry or myself. But any of the smaller ones, they're a rolling grant and there's no close off date until the money's run out.
There's another question there. Are programs time capped for delivery, for example, 6 months?
No. We understand that this COVID situation could go on for many years in many forms. We hope that lockdown doesn't, of course, and we're all hoping and keeping our fingers crossed for the vaccine. However, programs could take over a year to develop, or not develop, but over a year to implement and deliver. We're not upset about anything that takes time.
There's another question there too. Could you please tell us about projects that have been funded already and why?
I can't tell you, except for the one that I mentioned about the young, the video one. What else have we got, Terry? Maybe you can help me with that. My brain's a bit fudgy, but I can tell you why. And the why is they clearly identified need. I can't stress it enough. The need from the pandemic, not the need because your club needs it or your business wants it. It's a need. The pandemic's created something in our world, and you've come up with this initiative that will address that need, and those programs have been successful. They've clearly showed how they're going to deliver it, what they're going to use the money for, and how they're going to show us that it was successful.
Mm.
Can you give a couple of projects that have come up, Terry?
Yeah, so there's the film documentary, which Gretchen mentioned earlier, and the Deans Marsh Primary School doing a great community arts program, bringing people back together. And they're probably the only two that we can announce at this stage. The others are still going out for signatures and approvals. So it's still very much early days.
Yeah, can you elaborate on the Deans Marsh one? They'll show partnerships.
Yeah, so the Deans Marsh Primary School is partnering with local artists, the cottage, and local community members, and they're creating a project whereby there'll be art installations on individual farm gate properties, just to bring back that sense of ownership in the town, create a bit of fun emerging out of COVID-19, and also to recognise the importance of the school and the rec reserve. They'll be creating some archways out of willow sculptures using a noxious weed, pulling that out of the ground and creating an art sculpture with the weed that they pull out of the ground to create that nice archway for the reserve and the school. And they're also doing some ceramic tiles. So each of the children in the primary school will be creating an individual tile, ceramic tile to be placed on the ground to commemorate
Awesome.
2020. Yeah.
Thanks, Terry. That's a great synopsis of that little program, and it's an excellent one.
There's one more question there, Gretchen. What sort of intellectual property protection is the Shire guaranteeing? If someone has a scenario where an applicant suggests an idea for a project and maybe they're not successful, what measures are in place to prevent the Shire from taking that idea and developing it themselves?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And thank you for that one. I hope that we wouldn't do such a thing. That wasn't on our radar because that's not what Shire activity would condone. Having said that, if there is any projects that come into us and you would like us to sign a letter of confidentiality on that, I don't see an issue. I would have to get back to you on that one, but absolutely, I think that if that is your idea, it should stay yours.
There may be something in the application form about the legalities of that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Excellent question. Thank you for that.
And that's wrapping it up for questions. There's a few little positive feedback bits there, Gretchen, but I think that's about it.
Well, I'd like to, thank everyone for
sorry,
on board.
one more. Sorry, Gretchen.
Right.
Can support be from Shire staff?
So support, meaning that we support the program. We support the program naturally if it's in our strategies. That's a given that we would support something, but to ask that we provide you with a letter of support, I'm not quite clear on the question.
Yeah, that's what she means, sorry. Letters of support, yes. Can they be from the Shire? So I suppose an example would be if it's a arts project and it aligns with our arts strategy goals, can our arts department provide like a letter of support?
No.
No.
No, the reason is because you're asking the Shire to make an unbiased assessment of your application, and even if it aligns with one of our strategies, we, as I've mentioned, we in principle give this project support as well. And I don't want an applicant to think because we've supported that it should then be assessed as and approved. I think it creates a bias. And Terry, what's your thoughts on the matter? You there, Terry? I've lost her.
No, sorry, I muted.
Oh.
Yeah, look, it might be a bit of a conflict of interest.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Yep. We'd need to be careful there. Oh, they're coming through more questions. If you ask for $50,000, could you be given 30 instead?
If that
Or-
is, yeah, if that's the direction, we do have a question on there that says, could your project be delivered for less? And you can say yes there. This is where you identify the elements in your project in the budget, and you can clearly show what each element costs. And then if you were to be successful for 30,000, if council said, we love the project, but we will only agree to a lesser amount, and then we can show that we would help you deliver the first 10 components of the program, not the last 5.
Yeah.
So please, if that is the case, show us how the lesser amount would still make you successful through the budget.
Yeah, and sorry, one thing to add to the question about council support, if the project is happening on council owned or managed land, you would need what's called a letter of landowner approval. So say your project is occurring on Key Reserve in Torquay, you'll need a letter from the rec department that says, yes, we support the project to plant an orchard, or I'm just making it up, but something like that along the lines. A project occurring on council owned or managed land does need a letter of support.
Correct.
For
and that
approval.
doesn't give you, yeah, and you're still in the competitive process with everyone else.
Absolutely, yeah. There's another one here. If we are wanting to apply for more than $5,000, is this justified and documented by the budget, or is there something else we also need to do to substantiate?
Yeah, 2 things. Definitely the budget, and definitely the quotes to show that your budget is accurate. And yes, the more money you ask, it's a scalable thing. The more you ask for, the more you have to identify need and show data to prove it. So the lesser amount, the less data. If you want $50,000, you've got to really identify that need and put a lot of rigour in your application.
Yep, I think that's it for questions, Gretchen.
Great. Fantastic. Good questions, everybody. And thank you so much for coming on. We're very excited about this project. I must say one other thing. The council is so generous that if your application is unsuccessful, you have an opportunity to reapply. So you're not thrown out in the cold. It's a lot of projects may have merit but need a little bit more work, and you have an opportunity to do that. So I don't know many funding programs that allow that. So we're very lucky with our council.
The family said, just get Geelong to lift up the condition around. We said we'll leave it on spot.
We've got a bit of background noise coming in now.
There we go.
There we go. Yep.
So
were there?
But then the family wanted to.
Yes. So that's about it, Gretch.
All right. Well, I'll sign off, everybody. Thank you all.
And if anyone has any questions, please contact Gretchen and I. Our names are on the website, on all the forms. We've plastered our names everywhere.